we are going to continue sending the points that the user have scored from the game activity to the game over activity. So for that, first we need to know how much points has the user scored. So we are going to create a variable points, which will start on 0. So every time the user guesses a word, we can remove this to do and we can increase the points here. Every time the user guesses all the letters of one word, that means it has guessed the word, it can increase the points. Now, what do we need to do? We need to show that points on the game over activity. But we don't have this variable on the game over activity because this variable is only from this activity. So for that, on the intent, on the game over intent, we can put some data. So we can send some data on the intent. So for that, the game over intent has a method which is put extra. So to send some data, we need a tag, an identifier for the data. So it can be, for example, points, and it needs the value to send, so the value of the points. Let's call this point identifier, so you will see it clearly. So then we are sending this on the intent, and we have to retrieve this in the other end, on the game over activity. Please remove these two methods that we don't want, and they are so ugly. Okay, so I need to get the variable from the intent, so int points is going to be equal to the method get intent. In this case, when we say get extra, we need to say which type it was. We were sending an integer with the point, so it's get int extra in this case. So getting extra, we need the name of the extra that we put is the same name that in the other activity, and then the second parameter is a default value. In case that the extra is not coming with the intent, then they will take the value 0. So now what we are doing is increasing the point, sending the point to the game over activity, and now the game over activity will have to show the point on the screen. So we know that we have a text view that we call text view points. So the ID was text view point, which is text view points. We need the casting to text view, and finally we need to set the number of the point to the text view points. Okay. So finally we need to set the point to the text view point. So text points. We cannot set text as an integer, so we will have to set a string. So for that, a string dot value of points. Remember that you can never set an integer as a text. So if the reason for that, let me explain, is because if I do set text and I put an integer, Android will think that I am trying to send one ID to that text. But I am not sending one ID. I am sending an integer which I want to be displayed on the screen. That's why I convert this integer to a string. Okay, so now we just need to test our application. I'm launching it. I'm going to try to guess a couple of words. Look how good I am. I know all the answers. And then I'm going to fail the third one because I am so bad. So I'm going to fail, and I have 2 points because I guessed 2 words. That's perfectly fine. So okay, then we are going to continue adding some random words to make the game a bit more interesting.